Isaac is currently at Hyde Park High School in Austin, Texas. He is the D-line coach, the run game coordinator, assistant special teams coordinator. He has coached for 11 years at the high school level. Coach, thanks for being on and speaking today.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Me now the fun starts with apparently now I've got to tell my computer that I want to share my screen because apparently yes, that. No. Okay. Now let's do this. All right. All right, here we go. Here is my email address and Twitter, just in case you want to reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to talk about anything after this, especially if you have questions or if you think of something in the next couple of weeks. You're like, holy crap, I can't believe I didn't answer that, didn't ask that. So feel free to ask. And I'll be happy to share any information that I've got. So, like I said, been coaching for 11 years. 2 years prior to this, I was at Lipscomb Academy in Nashville. Might have heard of that place with a guy named Trent Dilfer. Then this year, I left with the special teams coordinator who was at Lipscomb. He took a head coaching job in Austin, Texas, by a guy named Phil Dawson, 21-year NFL kicking veteran. Anything that I know is not because I came up with it. It is 100% him. I am just been able to soak up a lot of information from him, from his time in the NFL. And so with that, the success that we've had, we're able to win a state championship last year at Lipscomb. And we're able to turn a program around here at Hyde Park with a team that went 0-9 last year, turning around to 8-3 this year with the same kids that were on the team last year. We got a few more kids that were involved in the school, but it's not like we just brought in 30 new kids from around Central Texas to win. I mean, this was the same kids that were already in the school that we took. So Lipscomb Academy, they got dudes all over the place. 4 stars, 5 stars, people going, pretty much anywhere and everywhere that were on that team. And so here you go. Look at the numbers. Yeah, fantastic. You could do that with dudes, but here we go. If you look at that last column this year, we almost had as good a numbers as we did in 2020, and then well better than we did last year in 21. People figured out not to kick the ball to us last year. They were either going to squib it or kick it out of the back of the end zone. The people just stopped kicking to us. Our defense also didn't give up a lot of scores, which did not lead to a lot of opportunities on returns. So it was very much we want the ball first, and so let's go score. And with that, I mean, it's what we do is not very hard, not very hard at all, but it does take kind of a lot of planning. So it is me and our special teams coordinator, head coach Phil Dawson. This is kind of our weekly outlook. We have to know our opponents. When you know your opponents, you can scheme them up. With our kick returns, we change it every single week for every opponent because every team that we play is not going to play their kickoff exactly the same. We know where they're going to kick the ball based on how they line up, based on how many steps their kicker takes back, where the tee is in between the hashes. And it does take a lot of time. But if you want to be great at special teams, just like you want to be great at offense or defense, you have to know exactly what the other team is going to do. We will first kind of the first thing that I really do is I do a hit chart. Every Sunday we get to film. I go through. I do a hit chart. Okay, so from here they like the ball 3 yards off the hash, and the guy he was 100%. He was kicking to his left, pretty much straight to his left with some touchbacks, and so we knew we were going to have a chance to return it if he kicked it short that week. But then we had the squib, but that was one of those outliers that you're like, okay, it's halftime. They're just trying to get to halftime. But for the most part, they were just kicking down here, kicking deep. They even lined up. Everybody was inside this hash right here. We knew this is where they were going to funnel the ball to. So again, we use, I don't know if everybody else does, but we use Just Play. It's a fantastic tool. I don't get paid by Just Play to say this, but we use it at Lipscomb, we use it at Hyde Park. It is, especially if you don't know exos very well, Just Play is very easy to learn, to use, be able to do your offense schemes, your defense schemes, all your special team stuff within Just Play, be able to share with your kids. You can even test them in Just Play to see if they actually pay attention in your meetings. So this was one of our kickoff returns from this year. What we did was we knew that they were going to kick the ball down here. Sometimes it did float back a little bit to our right, but if he caught it, right, then we're trying to press the point here to the right and get back to the left, because we knew if we got them flowing to the right, their backside did not have a lot of great condensing, so we we're going to hit it right up the middle. And then again, like I said earlier, every week we were tweaking this, figuring out where we're going to go. We generally start in a six-man front row with our two guards playing, starting at the 46, left tackle, centers. The tackles and the centers are at the 49. But we'll see later in the film, when they move the T over here to the hash, we move that guard up just to defend for the kicker kick to himself. So we will move this guard up if the ball is over here on this hash, and the same thing for over here. So when we talk about what we actually do, we just have rules. Front row rules. Number one is sprint. Kickoff team sprinting. Why aren't you sprinting? That is what we try to hammer down first. If you are in the front row, as soon as you see that ball kicked and it is over your head, you are turning and sprinting towards the returner. Okay, the person who is actually, so we tell our returners, hey, make sure you're the one who looks like he's going to catch the ball. All right, I can't have two returners in the back end who are just both looking up, looking like they both want to catch it. We have to be definitive and point to who's getting the ball, make sure that guy is looking. So our front row angles to our drop point is to the actual returner. Okay, because once we get those angles, the kickoff team is not just going to run straight down the field. Right? We expect them to condense while running down the field. So that is why if we do our angle of drop towards the returner, then that will set us up to where we need to be when we go turn around and block. Okay. As soon as the ball is caught, we stop our drop. We put our foot in the ground. We turn around. We find our man who we're supposed to block. And actually, and I did not say this earlier, how do we know who we're supposed to block? We actually print off all of our return cards every single week. We don't ask our kids to memorize any returns for KOR every week. They got a lot to learn on offense, a lot to remember on defense. We want special teams to just remember your rules. Then once we get into the game, we get in the huddle, we hold up the card that we want. They go out and they execute. So we stop our drop. as soon as that ball is caught, foot in the ground, now we're looking at the guy who's coming down the field, and they will end up pretty much in our lap to be able to block it. We set up a half man to the return side. Okay, so stop our drop. We want to make contact square, keep our hands inside, set up just that half man over to the return side. Once we make contact, we will chop our feet and move our butts to the return side to give our returner the best possible angle. So this is at Lipscomb. This was, I believe this was last year. So really want to look at our left guard right here, number 22, okay? He's going to drop back. He doesn't sprint. We did talk about this to him in the film session later, but he does get back, okay? With our blocking, you may not just come across and have this devastating, put that guy on his butt block. If you got to be there block and you are in the way and he goes the way that you want him to, that you're setting up, and he actually goes back door, that only is going to help us out. So what number 22 does here, right? Going back, ball's caught, foot in the ground. He is blocking. As we see it, the L4, okay, count outside in. He gets there, sets up half man, moving his feet, essentially just washes them by. That's not a devastating block, right? That is a be there block where he is going. He knows who he's got. He knows he cannot let him come across his face, and washes them by. That kid right there ended up, he was a senior last year, ended up at Austin P as a PWO and played in games this year because of what he knew on special teams. Coaches actually came up to him and was like, how do you know so much on special teams? It's because he paid attention in meetings. He did what we told him to. And he went out and executed just like that. Not a devastating block, but dang gum, it got there. You see it from the back end here. Angle wasn't great, but he knew that he had a chance because we were trying to set that return back to the middle just to bounce it back outside. All right. And where you offensive guys are out there, how much would you like to be starting at the plus 45 on your opening drive of the game? All right. Number 8, right here in the middle linebacker. Footwork. He gets there, he gets set. It's not a great block, but that guy has no chance of making this play. He was our special teams MVP his senior year. He gets back, he uses his feet. The only time he really loses him is because the guy's now trying to backpedal. Okay. He swings his hips. Right now he's kind of just falling down, but hey, we'll take it. That guy's 20 yards down. This cat was a 4-4. The guy that he was blocking is not going to make that play. Second row. Second row, we teach it just a little different, okay? We don't want them turning around because a lot of this is on spacing, okay? You got your first level blocks, your second level blocks. Second row, we're more of a shuffle towards where you're blocking, right? So if you're the left end and that ball is going right, you're probably going to have to shuffle pretty far just to make sure that you can get inside of the guy that you're blocking. But if you're left in and we're bringing it back left, you're not really going to have to shuffle that far. When a returner catches the ball, okay, he's going to yell "go" to signal for that second row, the two ends and the fullback, to go and attack their man. And it's again set up half man to the return side, turn your butt, and let's get going. All right. So, like I was talking about earlier, right here, left guard. This ball is over here. We want to fend against for the dribble to the kicker. All right, so we bring him up to the 49. He's still at the 46 back here. Okay. Condensed, again, we know if they're condensed, we don't want our backside tackle lining up, where he normally is out here on the numbers. All right. If their L1 is on the hash, there is no reason that we have two people outside of them because guess what? Now they can dribble it here and they got 5-on-2. That's not a good look. So we just want to make sure that we condense in. All right, match the formation that the kicking team comes out in. All right, we're going to be watching left end over here, number 30. Right, he's shuffling over. He knows he's got to get to his guy. His guy's was like, oh crap, I got a free lane. I made it through the front line because I don't watch film and I don't know that I got a guy coming to take my head off. And we're out the gate. Again, shuffling over, eyes on who we're getting. He's getting there. He comes all the way over, gets his butt to the where he is. Now, we kind of luck out here. He trips and falls because this is probably some of the worst grass you might have ever seen on a football field. Rained all week, so it's essentially a mud pie. So he falls down, takes out his teammate. Too big, moment's too big, pissing down his leg. Good old Coach 30 stuff right there. So again, hit charts are huge for us. If you know where the ball is going to be kicked, you have so much advantage. When we talk about a kicker steps, if kicker's at a 3-foot step, all right, he's got a lot of options. All right, it can be a deep kick, but it's not going to be as deep as a full 7-step run up. If he's a goal line kid on a full 7 steps, if he's at 3, he's probably going to be at 10. So you got to let your returners know, hey, if he's only at 3 steps, there's no reason to be at the goal line when you can only get it to the 10. 3 steps, a lot of times that means a sky kick. So your ends have also got to know, hey, that ball's coming to us. A lot of times, if we know a team is either going to do a deep kick or a sky kick, we marry our returns with an end and a returner that if the end catches it, that returner's coming up and is going to block the man that he's supposed to do. And the end is just running the return. Okay, it's just a little switch of responsibilities, and we're out the gate. So again, you just got to understand what the kickoff team is going to give you that week. And this one, again, like I said, they were 100%. This was number 1 team in the state versus number 2 team in the state. It's for all the gold. They were a public school. We were a private school. We figured they were going to have to do something crazy that we're not them for us to for them to think that they had a chance. Again, 100% right here. We're like, okay, we think they're going to get a little crazy and they're going to kick it over here. So we set up our return. We put a guy who can catch the ball. If you got guys that can catch the ball in and can block, that is a win-win right there. So we put probably 4th best athlete right here. Will go knock your clock off, but also can catch the ball. Just in case, by some chance, they do the unthinkable and kick it where they hadn't ever kicked it before. Right? Ball's on the hash, 6x4. We're like, hey, it's coming down here to us. Kicks it right to him. We're out the gate. Now, returner trying to get up here. He makes the one guy who he was blocking miss. And now we're over the 50, and we're ready to rock and roll. Okay? And again, we call it chasing ghost. But if people understand that you have a dominant return unit, they're going to start doing crap that they have never done before. And so you got to be prepared for that a little bit on the back end. We're here. There's not a great block by 19. I mean, if you want to block somebody who's going to Miami like that, then by all means do it. But that's not what we teach. But luckily, this guy back here was a good enough athlete. He got out, got around him, made the one guy miss, and we're setting up at the 50. All right. Right here, okay, again, hit charts, right? We know this is normally what they do, but if they ever get in this, then it's coming over here, okay? And again, it's just in that film study, just like you do on offense, defense, scheme somebody up. Mainly, he's kicking over here to the right with a little bit to the left, all right? This is rivalry game. Game is on TV. Opening kickoff. We haven't beaten this team in 6 or 7 years. Everybody jacked up. We set it to the middle. Now, granted, it boy can scoot. He's at Boston College now because he can scoot. He could found the hole. We got to our blocks. We knew we were coming back to this side. Now, the only about person that was wrong was this end right here. It was should have been technically should have been outside of him, but because our returner knew what he was doing, saw that he actually needed to cut that up inside of him, he made a hole, saw it, and it's gone. Now, I will say one thing. I do not enjoy seeing him switch the ball in his hands at the 10-yard line just so he could give somebody a high five walking into the end zone. But hey, understand, big play, opening kickoff. We've been in a 2.5-hour lightning delay, and we were ready to rock. Another thing I didn't talk about, this team twisted, all right? So if you look, L1, 2, and 3, they are doing all kinds of funky stuff, okay? But again, we knew this. We were prepared. They weren't going to hit sky kicks. They were going to kick it deep, and they were going to twist until they couldn't twist anymore. So what we ended up doing, we married a front row with a second row. Like, you three have these three. It is who becomes. Like, yeah, he started as the L1. But if he becomes the L2, then we've got to deal with it, right? We did a good job here waiting to figure out who was who. Coming across, did not need to block the L1, except we had the off returner coming for the L1, and we're out the gate and gone. Right, so again, another hit chart for a team that we played this year, St. Mike's. Again, 100% over here to the left. The only other time was whenever they had hand teams out, and they were just kicking it deep, kick it outside the hands team. This is one that we knew. Backside didn't condense very well when that return went back to the right. Our right, the return's right. So this backside didn't like to condense. But what we did know, front side really wanted to condense on a return that came back to the right. So what we had our guys do, again, know your returns. If you've just got a one-cut, get downhill guy, then shoot, just run it. Just run it right down their throats every single time. All right. But if you've got a little jitterbug back there that can make cuts and make cuts and make cuts, then yeah, then let's take one and bring it back the other way. we were lucky enough that this guy was a little jitterbug, and we could use him that way. Okay, again, this is opening kickoff rivalry game. Hadn't beaten this team in probably 8 years. We set that return. This backside doesn't really do a lot. Okay, we were one block away from making this a touchdown on the opening kickoff. All right, left tackle right here. I actually talked to him today. I said, "Ooh, you're in my clinic tonight about how well you did not play on this play." He was like, "I know it was bad. We should have scored." I was like, "Well, at least you know." We ripped him in meeting on Saturday, but luckily it was a lot less painful because we ended up winning. He comes down. He's set up. He's set up where he needs to be. But the kickoff guy was kind of playing with him. Instead of going and attacking, he was just sitting back here, got around, and we'll see it from the back end. I mean, this hole right here is wide enough you can drive 2 Mack trucks through it. And the guy that our left tackle was supposed to block makes play in the hole. Off returner comes. He's ready for the kicker. Kicker didn't want any. Left end, he ended up coming across all the way for the 5, gone. We were actually trying to double him, which was the funny part. Didn't need to double him when he's on the ground. Big hole, tackle. But again, you are giving your offense on the minus 40, and you've got a heck of a lot higher percentage chance of scoring from the minus 40 than you do from the minus 25. He could have let that go over his head, but we knew we get the ball in our hands, we want to score. Same game later, right? They've seen one. Now let's pull out another one. So this time we set it to the middle, and then we bounce it back to the outside. We probably draw up about three returns every single week. He set it in the middle again. It's a lot better from the back end. Set it here in the middle. Look at our front row. We turn, set up half man. We are trying to allow them to go one way or the other. If they want to go underneath our blocks, that is just that much easier for us. All right. Now, our left tackle, again, I know, no shocker, he loses this guy here, but because we bounce this thing so wide and there is nobody out here because we have pinned everybody in, our returners got a chance to get out of here and make a play. Okay? Let your playmakers make plays. All right. We needed a play. This team already scored on us. First play of the game. We needed a big play. And then here we had a miscommunication down here with left tackle, left end on who block. So we decided to not block their best player who's out here playing R2. And lo and behold, guess who makes the play? The best dude on the team who we don't block. Everybody else is blocked up. This kicker didn't. Actually, this kicker's back here because he's just hanging out. R1 is who's the safety right here. He didn't want a lot. He wasn't putting his nose in anything. We make that block on the right here at the level of attack. I mean, there's no telling how far we're going to get on this. Again, same game. We thought, well, if we're not going to block the best player on the team, then might as well run away from the best player on the team. We take this one wide field. Try to set it in the middle. And again, just get outside. We want to get the yards. You offensive players be happy. You got the ball on the plus 40. Right? We know this cat was going this way in this win. It was going to be short of the end zone. Going the other way, it was probably going to be a touchback. We knew we had a chance at returnable balls from this guy. You can watch him. Everybody on the left side was ready for this thing to go right. We set it back to the middle, come back to the right, out to the races, kicker makes a play. This team, big, and they are fast. And if your team is not big and not fast, it is probably not a great idea to go wide field against that team. We knew this team was going to be able to cover. So our best shot at getting one to pop was hitting it right now. Get vertical when you get the ball, and let's go. Kicker was keeping it in between the hashes for the most part, and so we just wanted to get after it. This is a team that ended up winning a state championship in our division in Texas. I won't talk about our score because it wasn't great. But hey, this was a good play. All right, we're here. Fumbling a little bit, but hey, we got where enough all. Pick up the ball, right? None of these blocks are devastating blocks, right? Our kids ended up being really scared this game because I guess they've never seen this many big, fast people before in their life. But this was the biggest return against this team all year. $55, just running it right down their throats. All right, again, this team, again, this was the second year at Lipscomb against CPA. We had lost to them in the state. We had beat them the year previous in the regular season, lost to them in the state championship game. So this was regular season. This team, well, they had just recently played somebody who ran a reverse. So we were like, okay, let's fake the reverse, right? We knew that they were going to be thinking, hey, if somebody starts running across the field, they're going to start going with them. So we wanted to say, hey, if that's where all of your guys are going to go, because that's what they just saw, then we're just going to fake it and come back the other way with it. Out the gate, plus 42. Again, I will say, people will say, it's like, oh, it's not about all your dudes, but he was special. Won Mr. Football in the state of Tennessee. Fake reverse, they're gone. And we're out the gate. And they threw a flag at the end, but we won't talk about that. This was this year. This was rivalry game. Okay, again, biggest rival. We knew we had to do something special. They were a crap ton better than us, and we need to pull out our bag of tricks. So opening kickoff. Here we go. Reverse. Everybody's flowing hard. We give our offense the ball plus 40, plus 30 or minus 36. They're all running. Unfortunately, you got to have some tough people to be back here returning the ball. All right, we'll slow us down. He doesn't mind me showing this. He knows he got blown up. He laughed. We watched a lot. We're just like, woo. Think we might even get it framed. But again, a lot of our guys over here on the right knew that ball was coming back. So they missed their guy. We see all of them chasing the ball. That ball's getting back reversed. And now they're just picking people off. And we're headed up the sideline. All right. Now I guess it's time for questions.
Anybody got any questions for Coach?
I just made a comment in the chat. I don't know if you took a look at it.
Let's find it. Oh, there it is.
But I feel like there are a lot of diagrams available online for prepackaged returns, and very few of them really take into account giving an assignment that has the ideal pre-kick leverage. And it seems like the majority of yours do, and I appreciate that. I try to do it with my returns, but I think it's a valid point that the more players you can put into the desired leverage pre-kick, the easier it's going to be for them to protect the side of the return.
Oh, yeah. We move our kids around. I mean, even going into the game, we might tell our ends, hey, we're on the 27, go in, wind's blowing pretty hard one way. It's like, okay, we got to move up 5 yards. So now we're aligned on the 32. Where their alignment is, even left to right. I mean, it's changing
that's what I mean. The left to right leverage.
Oh yeah, left to right, especially if people come out in a condensed formation like that and everybody's inside the hash. To me, that screams take it wide field. But if you still have two guys that are hanging out outside the hash, away from where the ball is being kicked, they will never get to the point of attack to make a good block, or there's going to be a penalty. So you have to set your guys up for success before the ball's even kicked.
Second comment and question. I noticed you diagram your plays with the return team moving from the bottom of the page, moving upwards, but your scatter plots, your whatever for your charting the kicks, you flip it the other way.
Yeah, that's a me thing.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm like this. I guess because I played too much NCAA and Madden that well, to me, especially when we start drawing on the board, I'm like, offense is always on the bottom. I don't know why you can't understand that offense goes on the bottom and defense goes on top.
Yeah, I always flip it.
So I guess with that, like is from the starting point, whenever I'm doing all of my hit charts, I just like going up. And I'll do it for punt too, where I just draw everything's going up.
And the follow-up question to that for both kickoff return and also punt return, do you use your scatter? I call them scatter plots when I don't. Mm-hmm. Do you use those plots only for your internal planning? Do you share those just with your returners and the people who are likely to have to field the ball? Or do you make that available to all the players? What's your philosophy on how much information do you give to the kids that they might have to process?
So with Just Play, everybody has access to our Just Play. We go over it in meetings. It's in our presentations during meetings. If the kids want to go on and study it even more, it's available for them. We say, hey, here's our kick chart. This is why we are doing the things that we are doing. This is why you're aligning 4 yards from the hash at the 2-yard line this week. Here is why. Here is the hit chart. And if they want to go look at it on Just Play, then anybody is welcome to any of that information on our team.
So slight adjustment to that I use that I might share with you. Rather than just use dots, I use a number and I color code each game. So if we're playing Detroit, they get neon green. If we're playing DC, they get maroon. And the number represents the clip number within huddle. So if they want to see that play, they know where to find it in the film.
I like that. That's good.
Anyone else got something for Coach? I thought it was a great presentation. I had my eyes on it the whole time. I loved those
good
boundary
stuff.
returns too. Those boundary returns were a thing of beauty. And one thing I'm going to take away from it, if I don't take anything else, is just the term "be there" block. That's great. I loved that.
I have a question, Coach. With your frontline guys at each of those spots, kind of what type of personnel do you like to use at each of those? Like for instance, me with the guards that are right near the ball, like they got to be able to have some sort of twitch, have a little bit of ball skills, be able to open their hips. How do you kind of evaluate your personnel of who to put on that front line?
Yeah, yeah, good question. Personnel, our centers are linebacker types. Our guards are that hybrid backer safety. And most of the time, our tackles are all safeties, little smaller bodies,
Yeah,
because you want speed matching up with speed on the other team. Now, if
right.
somebody comes out, they've got four fatties on one side. Number one, we're running that way, and number two, we will change our depth and change up positions based on what the other team is going to line up with. If we know that they've got, you know, Alabama linebacker and Clemson linebacker lining up at 5, we're going to bring a little bit more beef either to block them, or especially in our second row, we had our fullback on KOR. We had a D lineman, we had a offensive center and an offensive tackle play that fullback position, just because we know that they could block in space, and they were going to run. So especially if they got those big boys playing 5s, then we're going to
No.
match that up even within the return with that.
So if you were playing a team that had bigger guys at those 5 positions and you put a bigger body at your fullback spot, would you get them extra work with ball drills during the week? And then did you ever send any of like your fullbacks or ends out in warm-ups to catch balls?
We tell them to catch balls, but
Gotcha.
just because we tell them to doesn't always lead to them getting it done.
Right.
Um, Barry, he asked what type of gear drills. So during the season, sorry, Riley, did I answer your questions?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. Um, what type of drills do we use? So, especially when the summer is huge for us. Uh, this last summer, because we were taking over a brand new program, we did not really get to do everything that we wanted to this summer, last summer, to get us ready for training camp. This summer is going to look a lot different, but we work on teams every day. Uh, so what we will do in June, we will take the 4 big phases, and every week that's the phase we're working on. We got a kickoff day, we got a kickoff week, KOR week, punt week, and punt return week, and working on many drills within that. So one of the big drills, especially for our front line, what we'll do, we'll have them pair up, get about 10 yards apart from each other. Okay, so then you'll just have one group run at a time. So the guy who ends up running, and then you have your chaser. That chaser's representing kickoff team. Your runner is representing KOR. All right. We'll tell them to run back, 5 or 10 yards, foot in the ground, come work a half man over, make good contact, chop their feet, and move their butt to the left or the right, whichever way we say that that return is going. And even within that, a lot of our punt return drills you can use in KOR, because again, you're trying to block people in space, especially once you get off of that line of scrimmage. We call it a hemorrhoid drill, where you want to be a nuisance to somebody you get on that low hip, and you try to expand them out one way so they cannot cut underneath you, right? And once they throttle down, then we do tomahawk. And you come back, tomahawk chop, right? Get square, and then move our butt to the return side. So those are kind of our 2 biggest drills. And it's, again, we work our footwork all the time. on dropping. We work on our angles of dropping. Work on the footwork. We work on sprinting back, putting our foot in the ground, and going and attacking. Because there's going to be some teams that you play that have slower kickoff guys. So instead of just waiting for them to come and hit you, don't be the bug on the windshield. Be the windshield. Go attack them as soon as you put your foot in the ground and identify where your guy is. Go and attack them. So I hope that answered that question, Barry.
We do that drill a lot of time, and we practice it where they have the leverage, and we call that the got it drill. And then we throw a wrinkle in where we call it the don't got it drill, where you start with one relationship left to right, and you have to obtain the leverage with a lateral run before you get down for those situations.
Yep. We work on that, especially during our punt return week. When
And
we lost leverage and trying to get to that other side of them because that's where the ball's going. We do this awesome thing called a flyby drill too. Flyby is awesome, especially when you see it in a game. That just makes me about as tickled as anything whenever I see a flyby correctly done in a game. So flyby is you're running down, you ain't got them. So you're running, and at the point of attack, you turn your back to the punt guy, and your chest is facing your returner, and you fly by and you block them with your back instead of blocking them in the back.
It's the ultimate be there block.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff.
That is good stuff. Anyone got anything else for Coach before we move on? All right. Well, Coach Eubanks, awesome job, dude. That was sweet. I enjoyed that thoroughly. Gonna be a tough act to follow.